You heard that there's an ad listed in the classifieds. Kind of free. It only says I'm looking
I like this music, Jackie.
It's so fun, huh?
Yeah.
Haven't you heard? Hey, live community. It's Live at 5. Haven't you heard? And it's Jackie Porter. Haven't you heard? And it's the Live at 5 with the Financial Confidant. Haven't you heard? I thought this was a fun song to do today because it's got so much energy. It's by our diva Patrice Rushen. She was huge in the 80s. I remember going to a few parties to this song. Anyway, and roller skating to this song. For those of you who remember roller skating, please post in the chat. Do you remember roller skating? So I'm back with my partner in crime today, Jin Lee. So obviously, Confidant community, you know Jin Lee by now. He's our in-house planner. And I thought this was a great song to get our song, get our whole theme going for this month, which is Financial Literacy Month. So I thought It's Financial Literacy Month. Haven't you heard? Right? And I thought it was just a great way to start our live and bring some energy, and for those of you who might even remember this song, I mentioned it's Patrice Rushen. How many people on our live remember this song? Please post in the chat so I don't feel so old when I pretend to be DJ. Anyway, haven't you heard it's Financial Literacy Month? And we thought it was a great time to talk about financial confidence and how we can help our clients with building their financial confidence. I wanted to share some stats with you because I had a chance to dig into some stats that recently came out by PC Financial, and they were talking about the financial confidence of Canadians. And I thought, this is a really interesting survey because it mentioned the fact that 77% of Canadians feel more confident. They feel like they are more financially literate, which is great because, many of us didn't learn about finances in school, did we? Right? I'd love it if you are someone on this chat who learned about money in school. Certainly in my generation, we did not. So I just want to actually, spend some time talking about the fact that for a lot of people, finance is still a challenging subject. So people feel better. There were some places where I think that the financial industry still has a lot of work to do. One of the other survey results was only 66% of the people who were surveyed actually felt confident about their financial future. Mm-hmm. So there might be some reasons for that, right, Jin? Probably inflation.
A lot of reasons, especially right now.
Exactly, rising interest rates. We've got also, costs of living for groceries, gas going up. So I think stock market, exactly. We certainly have our challenges right now. And so people don't necessarily feel as confident about their future. And, the other stat that I thought was interesting, so that was 66%. So C plus there, right? There's definitely work in our industry to do. And only 44% of Canadians felt they had the right tools available to them to actually feel more confident about their future. And I think, one of the tools that they can employ and they can take advantage of is digging into planning and working with a planner. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is how a financial planner can help you build your confidence. And that's why Jin, our resident planner who's on my team, is with us to help me with this conversation. It's a really important one. So if you're looking at ways to build your own financial confidence, check out this live. It's going to be a great conversation, and definitely join us. And, we'd love to hear what are areas in your own financial circumstances you'd love to build confidence in as well. So Jin, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
Awesome. I'm saying you're now becoming a regular on this. How are you feeling?
Good. I feel like my dance moves are getting better and better with every video.
I'm trying to emulate some of them over here in live community. So let's talk a little bit more about planning and some of the things we see when we work with clients on how they can improve their financial circumstances. Let's talk a little bit about, because I think when people come in, they have lots of goals, lots of plans, lots of things they want to do, lots of ideas of all the different things they want to do. So talk to me through how people build confidence and make better decisions, or even how they're helped with the financial planning process with making better decisions.
Yeah, so like Jackie said, a lot of us have a lot of different financial goals, and then we think about balancing our short-term goals with long-term goals, but it's a daunting task trying to think about how to really think about the trade-off, and a lot of us know it roughly off of our head. If we spend too much right now, it's not good for the future, but what does it mean in terms of numbers, right? So there is a lot of these trade-offs to make. And one of the key values I believe our financial planning process brings is help clients start thinking about the trade-offs with the numbers we present. So good example is, let's say, so we actually had a client who wanted to do a big renovations in several $100,000. And
I remember that client.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not just one client. I feel like we've been seeing more and more, especially during the pandemic. We saw a lot of our clients who wanted to go through big renovations, and they knew they can afford their renovation. They knew they were qualified for the mortgage to get this big renovation going on. They can, and they knew they can pay it with the current cash flow. But what they don't know is, and hard to put it into the real number, is what does it mean in terms of other financial goals? If I do renovation now, how many years of retirement? How does it impact my retirement age? All right. So if I do, so that's where we come into play, and plug in all this number to the calculation, help them see. Let's say you do $500,000 renovations. That's going to be 5 years in terms of retirement age. So you have to retire.
And I'm thinking, so they come into us, and I remember these clients well, and I know we've had our share. I think many people have been home during the pandemic in their house, and all of a sudden want to make all these changes, right? Nothing like spending almost 2 years in your home to go, okay, things need to change, right? And we have the money. So I think what I'm hearing from you is people are coming in, especially higher income earners, and they're like, we can afford this. We can do this. And they have all these goals. And another goal is, I want to do the renovation and I want to retire. Can I afford to do both? And what's the impact is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And not just expenses. Let's say we had a client who wanted to go back to school. And then if they take 3 years off the work and go through the school and eventually get a higher paying roles, but what does that exactly mean in terms of retirement? Is it really worth it? Right, so that's something we can help with our clients. Right?
Yeah, especially in these times where people, the job market, also another thing, people are thinking about the future, might be becoming more uncertain. Should I do a part-time course? Should I, bite the bullet, just go full-time? Like, what's the impact? I think people don't often think about the impact of their financial decisions.
And yeah, exactly, Jackie. And one thing we can really also help is helping them think about different scenarios, right? As we all know, renovation budgets are there to go overspent, right? So what if the renovation expenses end up being much higher than the initial budget? What is it going to look like in terms of the mortgage payments, and in terms of the retirement age, and how will they be able to fund it, right? So.
Well, I just think when you talk about renovations and people come in and they're like, our contractor told her it's going to be $500,000, for example, with this client. Is it really ever
exactly?
It's going to be live community. How many of you out there, I would love to know, have done a renovation that's been on time and on budget? I would love for you to post in the chat, because that's not something I certainly see every day. I've certainly not run into it in my own home. So I would love for people to talk about, what their renovation experiences have been, and if they really thought about it or ever talked to a planner about the impact. Because you're right. I think, that's one of the things we say is, let's, put a cushion in, let's add 30%, because a really good renovator will tell you, add 30% to that renovation budget so you have a cushion, and then we can, factor that in and factor the impact of that in on your overall plan.
Exactly. And similar story for big travels too, right? It's very easy to overspend when you're going on a trip, right? So,
Right. Right.
mhm.
So have you identified all of those expenses that you're going to have associated with your travel budget? Do you have a travel budget, or are you someone who, sometimes we, especially during the pandemic, we've, had all this time where we've been deprived and denied of travel. So coming
Mhm.
out of the pandemic, you're thinking, I want to travel more. What does that mean in terms of math? How much will you spend? And where will you go,
Exactly.
and what will that cost, and what is your normal vacation cost, factoring in your
Hmm.
meals, especially if you don't go to an all-inclusive. So anyway, it's just thinking a little bit more in detail about what your plan is, so
Hmm.
you can paint a better picture. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, exactly. So I remember one of our clients after the entire planning process, they really appreciated the fact that they have this thinking model, they a frame where they spend something big, they not only think about whether they can afford it, but they now start to think about what's the trade-off in terms of their other goals, right? So I think that's something a lot of clients feel much more confident about their finance if they start doing that.
I love that feedback from that client,
Yeah.
because I think,
Hmm.
again, that's just not a question that's on most people's mind when they do a big spend in particular. Which, and the question, live community, for you is, when you do a big spend on something, first of all, have you ever thought it through, worked it through with a financial planner? Because the central question is, even though you can afford it in your budget, should
Hmm.
you? And what's the trade-off, and
Exactly.
what's the
Yeah.
impact? So can I
Hmm.
afford it? But even though if I can afford it, even if I can afford it, should I? And what will the impact be to my overall financial circumstances and my overall plans?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating, and I don't think it's something we think about, especially because we haven't had a lot of time passed over the last few years
Hmm.
to really,
Hmm.
a lot of people are, coming out of financial lockdown, right?
Hmm.
And this is a really important time to kind of think about what expenses you're going to have over the next 3 to 5 years. What are some of the major expenses you're going to have? How will your
Hmm.
financial circumstances change? Because if we're hearing that people aren't having confidence about their financial future, are they thinking about their future? Are they
Hmm.
actually running those scenarios that you're talking about?
Hmm. Yeah. And
Mm.
yeah, and another big value we bring to client is clients. It's helping them see the reality of their finance situations and doing some sort of reality check, and
Mhm.
helping them take actions to address the gap if there is any.
So
So
give
I
us an
think.
example.
Mhm. So so we had a couple. So I feel like what happens with clients, as I mentioned, is they get an idea. They have roughly have an idea on where they stay, how good their financials are, and if they think it's not so good, they tend to postpone talking about it with their partners, and they keep on postponing dealing with it, and they don't really want to face the reality sometimes, right? So yeah, so those are the times where we bring. So we had a client, a couple getting closer to the retirement, but they weren't communicating in terms of the money, but they
That's right.
roughly knew they were not in the best situation for their retirement. So that is when we were able to really show you in terms of numbers what the gap is. It's different when you roughly know what it is versus someone telling you what it is exactly with backed up with numbers.
And it's this is a really interesting point, because I think when I think about this couple, and this particular client was no different than many clients I've seen in this situation, where it might be challenging to talk about money at home when you're not financially literate, your partner's even less financially literate,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of fear, just like in this market we're in now, right? Where people are feeling very uncertain, and the fact that they don't feel like at home they're in a good financial situation and they can't talk about it. Do you know what happens when you have this situation where you can't talk about money with your partner, and maybe they're the spender and you're the saver? I'll tell you, because I've
Mm.
seen it a lot in my 25 years of doing this. So, what happens? Love, first of all, does not conquer all in relationships, as many of you have heard me say before. So what happens is we know that that one individual in the relationship that's the saver is watching money go out of the account. They can't talk about it. They're worried about retirement. They're worried about the future. They can't talk about it with their partner. So what happens over time is resentment builds, right?
Hmm.
And again, nobody has the tools to talk about it. So, how a financial planner can help in this scenario is, first of all, they can equip you with that financial literacy, with the tools to have that conversation. No blame, no shame. I'm going to repeat that, my
Exactly.
community. No blame and no shame. So, what that looks like is, let's just get everybody on the same financial page
Hmm.
about their finances. So let's see how let's actually pull off that band-aid and see exactly how things look, because the whole avoiding thing has everything to do with not wanting to have that confrontation and go right to the feels, to the emotion, how you feel about it. And that ends up leading people to just bury things, but you can only do that for so long before it explodes and it ends up in a not so great situation. And I've often said to clients that I never expected. My background's in therapy, and I thought I left therapy because I just didn't want to get into these emotional conversations where sometimes people blame and shame, right? I wanted to do something practical with my clients. So what did I learn coming into this industry is that actually we do a lot of financial therapy with our clients,
Yep.
right? Because what we do is we actually end up helping them to help them see the numbers, not blame people, but just say, here's what your financial picture looks like, and here are some tools. Here are some things we can do if both of you are invested in getting on the same page. Here are action steps we can take. So here's what the situation is. You're in this much debt. If you're the spender and you're the saver, let's not blame anybody. Here's where we are now, but here's what we can do to make the situation better and get you
Yep.
both where you want to go. Here are action steps you can take. And I think that's where the financial literacy comes in. That's where the confidence comes in, because then, we can have financial discussions where it's not emotional discussions. And we can
Exactly.
look exactly at the elephant in the room and tell them exactly where to go, what we're going to
Hmm.
do, right? So that's
Exactly.
what I think I find empowers couples. It actually helps the relationship because now they have tools to talk about money as well. And we can also be that facilitator, right? We can be
Hmm.
that third neutral party when you're having those conversations with your partner that you might not feel comfortable having. We're that third party that, again, we can take all the emotion out of it and bring all the practicality to it, right, Jim?
Exactly. Yeah, you couldn't have said it better, Jackie. I feel like it's much easier conversations to have if you have a third person and who tells you objectively what the situation is, versus trying to speak to your partner, uh, which can become very emotional and not get to anywhere. So you'll be really going from an emotional conversation to more of a let's work together to take an action to deal with this problem.
Exactly. And I think we're in this market now, like we talked about, rising costs, job
Hmm.
uncertainty. We see these big tech companies laying people off, and we know that this is going to spill over into other areas of the market. We see rising interest rates, and the reality is, when the economy isn't doing well, relationships also suffer. There are more
Yep.
divorces. Live community. Did you know this? In bad economies, shockingly, because love doesn't conquer all, remember, more people divorce. Shocking, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so if you're in a circumstance right now that you're worried about your financial future, you have a partner where you're struggling to have these conversations that you both know you need to have, but don't know how to have it without that blame, without that shame, without knowing what to do next, definitely reach out to us. That's what we love to do. As I said,
Hmm.
I didn't realize I was going to end up being called to do this after leaving the therapy industry. But what I love more being a planner is we can actually give you practical things to do to improve your circumstances right away. All right.
Exactly.
we will move on to the next thing, which is that whole money conversation. So let's talk a little bit about, now we helped couples have money conversations. What are some other ways, Jinli, we can help our
Mhm.
clients get more confident with
Yeah.
these money conversations?
Yep. Another biggest thing is giving the peace of mind and support during difficult times financially and
Yeah,
or life as well. So we have a lot of clients who are going through big life transitions. Maybe they are going through a divorce, and even right now, the entire economy is really frightening, and it can be a hard time for a lot of people emotionally because we're seeing inflation going up at much higher rates. We're so much worried about the stock markets too, and all the geopolitical tensions going on. So our job as financial planner is to really help them give the peace of mind and the support to let them know that they are okay
that's it.
based on all kinds of different scenarios we try out.
That's right.
And,
So, I'm wanting to retire and I don't know if I still can. I've seen my investments gone down. Can I still afford to retire? Or I'm divorcing and I don't know after I get my settlement, will I have enough? Am I still going to be okay? We can give that reassurance or action steps that they need to take to get where they want to go.
mhm,
Or they're just worried about their financial future for whatever the reason might be. And
mhm,
what I love to do is don't let me tell you, let me show you. Let's look at the scenario. let's
exactly.
look, look at let's take an intimate look at your numbers, and then I can show you rather than tell you. I
Mhm,
feel like in so many ways, Jinli, our role in our clients' lives is to be their, what I've coined, their reassurer in chief, right?
mhm, mhm,
And we can do that when we can actually help them understand their numbers better and give them that reassurance that comes from, okay, here's where you are, let's look into the future, let's take your numbers and project them and show you exactly what things will look like in worst
mhm,
case scenarios. That's really what
exactly.
we love
Yeah.
to do, don't we?
So we have a good example for that. So we had a client who wanted to try all kinds of different scenario with inflation. So wanted to see what the worst case scenario is with inflation. So one of the scenario we did was, what if inflation persists at higher level forever, and also assume the market does not keep up with inflation? What's going to happen? Will I still be okay?
Right.
And so we were able to answer that question and show our client that they are actually okay even under that very unlikely scenario. So I think those are times where, and clients themselves know that those are pretty extreme scenarios, and knowing that they're still okay even under that situation really gives them peace of mind to sleep better, knowing that they're okay, right?
Yeah, it's all about just helping people to, see their financial circumstances as clearly as possible. And we can't do that if we're guessing. So, one of the reasons when we work with clients that we ask you for your financial documents, because that is definitely a part of the process, is that then we can actually be reassured ourselves that what we're
Mm-hmm.
giving you information that actually is completely linked to your unique circumstances. So, what does your current
Exactly.
income tax rate look like? How are your current investments performing? What does your current debt situation look like? Folks, if we're not asking you for this type of information, we're guessing. So I'd love to have ask another question for our live community. How many of you in this potential market know the real rate of your return of your investments over the last 5 years or 10 years? You know how your investments are doing. You have a sense of how they're performing against the market. How many of you know your net worth and have a sense of how much debt you're carrying overall? These are some of
Mm-hmm.
the things that we like to go through with clients so they have a really good sense. And then we talk about, again, practical things that they can do. It's all about taking steps to improve your circumstances. To be honest with you, live community, the most important way you can become more confident around your financial circumstances is to actually just take action, right?
Yep.
We don't lose any weight if we don't go to the gym, right? Well,
I know
or,
that very well.
or reduce our calorie intake. We have
Mhm.
to do something. We can't stay in our head and expect our confidence around anything to improve. Isn't that correct,
Exactly.
Jinli?
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better again. So yeah.
I
So
think
and
it's
mhm,
all about taking action. And that's what I want to encourage all of you to do. If you feel confident about your financial circumstances right now, I'd love to hear that. Post in the chat. If you're someone who feels that you're not confident, we also want to hear from you. Post in the chat as well and talk about. Again, this live community is a forum for people to share and support. So, again, no blame, no shame. But if you know that you're not confident about one area of your finances, our last tip to you is think about what you can do for the rest of 2022 for the thing you're most concerned about around your finances, and
mhm,
then promise yourself, make a contract to yourself that you're going to take action around that, whether it's working with
mhm,
someone like us to help your confidence, whether it's reading up. Take action. I see that our client experience manager is on the live, and our she's shared our info. If you'd like to reach out for a strategy session to improve your financial circumstances, please reach out to us. We are offering a 30-minute free financial strategy session to look at how you can improve your financial IQ, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. So check out that, and definitely reach out to us. And also, please stay tuned. We have a whole month packed with financial literacy tips. So definitely check out our channels to stay up to date for all of the latest updates. I hope you guys enjoyed the live. We'd love your feedback and looking forward to seeing you next week. Take care, live community. Thanks again, Jen,
take
for
care,
sharing.
community. No problem. Always pleasure to be here.
Bye now.
Bye now.